Hello, I'm Joseph Jefferson Walford Jackson, probably better known as Shocless Joe Jackson. I'll tell you in a little bit how I got my nickname. I started work at Brandon Mill when I was just 6 years old, sweeping up in the mill floors. By the time I was 12 or 13 years old, I was such a good baseball player that they had me playing on the Brandon Mill's men's team. And all the mill teams, all the mill villages had teams, and it was a great attraction for go and play games, particularly on a Saturday afternoon. We traveled to all the other mill villages, and thousands of people would show up and watch us play our baseball game. When I was 19 years old, I signed my first professional baseball contract with the Greenville Spinners. And that's how I ended up getting my nickname. We were playing a game against the Anderson Electricians, just right down the road in Anderson. And I had me a new pair of baseball shoes. And we were playing a doubleheader, and it was a hot summer day, and those shoes were just killing my feet. I could feel the blisters popping up, and I knew I had to do something. So it was about the 7th inning of the second game, and I'm sitting in the dugout, and it's just about my turn to bat. Here's what I did. I slipped those shoes off, then I walked up to bat. Now, no one said anything, no one laughed. Not sure if they noticed it or not, but I came up to bat. Now, we were behind by a run or two, and we had 2 runners on base. Had my old best bat, Black Betsy, and I was known for hitting what they called blue darters. They claimed in the twilight with the sun going down, I could hit a line drive so hard that you could see blue flame jumping off the ball. So the pitcher wound up and tried to throw a fastball by me, hit one of my blue darters. It went screaming out to right field, and I went flying around those bases. Now, I was younger than most of those guys, and I was fast too. So I'm coming around second base, and the coach is giving me the stop sign there at third base, but I thought I could make it. So I went flying into third base. I slid in, my old sock feet up in the air, and some joker in the stands for Anderson yelled out, "You shoeless son of a blankety blank." I won't say what he said, but he called me a bad word. And Scoop Latimer, the sports writer for the Greenville News, was sitting in the stands, and he heard that fella. And the next day in the Sunday Greenville paper, it said, "Shocless Joe Jackson beats Anderson with another blue darter." So that's how I got my nickname. So be careful what you let people call you. It may stick with you for a long time. Now, after that same summer of 1908, I was called up by Mr. Connie Mack. He bought my contract from the Greenville Spinners, and I was called up by Mr. Mack to play for the Philadelphia Athletics. Didn't really want to leave Greenville. I was so homesick that it took me 3 trips on the train to make it to Philadelphia and finally stay. But I played in Philadelphia, and then later on in the major leagues, I played in Cleveland, and then finished my major league career with the Chicago White Sox. Finished with the 3rd highest batting average ever in major league history at .356. And then after I was through in Chicago, I loved to play the game so much that I still came back to Greenville and played in the textile leagues. Played for Brandon Mill again. So that's the story of Shocless Joe Jackson from Greenville, South Carolina.
I'm Arlene Marcley. I'm the curator of the Shocless Joe Jackson Museum and Baseball Library. This is the dining room of the Shocless Joe house, and we've dedicated it to the textile mill workers. Greenville for many, many years was the textile capital of the world, and Joe Jackson moved to Greenville at a very early age with his father and his mother, and he went to work in Brandon Mill sweeping cotton lint off the floor of the mill. This is a picture of some of the Brandon workers, and this young man right here is Joe Jackson. He was 12 years old, and by this time he had been working for 6 years. We are fortunate to have the original Brandon Mill whistle in this room, and many of the artifacts from the mill, such as the picker stick. This is a wedding picture of Joe and Kate Jackson. It was taken in 1908 on July 19th. They have just celebrated their 100th wedding anniversary. This is the master bedroom of the house, and this is also the room where Joe Jackson died. He died on December 5th, 1951 at the age of 63. We've decided to dedicate this room to his professional career, primarily with the Chicago White Sox. And so you'll see many photos of he and the team, and replicas of his baseball jerseys. We're also happy to have an original ballpark stadium seat from the old Comiskey Ballpark where he played in Chicago. Shoeless Joe Jackson has become a fixture. He's an icon across the country, but the upcountry of South Carolina really can identify with Joe, and primarily because of the textile workers and their close association to him for many years. Now the descendants of those textile workers were children at the time when Joe came back from Major League Baseball, when he came back to Greenville. You know, he taught so many of the kids how to play and bat and throw. And, you know, we've got photos of Joe just surrounded by children. And those folks are now grown up. They're my age. So they're coming forward with stories about Joe. Many of them came in and out of this house numerous times. Some of them have told us where certain pieces of furniture were located. We found out his desk and chair were located right here in this room. And that's adding a little to the magic of not only Joe Jackson, but to the museum, because people realize he was a human being. He wasn't just a great baseball player. He lived and was happy and had a happy home life. And that's what people are interested in learning about Joe.
Baseball was a big part of my life, my entire life. Going in the Army was probably better for my baseball. It was the first time that I had ever pitched regularly. And I really developed more as a pitcher. And we played against some good professional clubs, some major leaguers as well, and went overseas in the spring of '44. Was assigned to the 88th Infantry Division and the 351st Infantry. I had extensive wounds to the thighs, and I had my right foot broken, my left ankle, and my left leg. The shin bone, 5.5 inches of that bone was shattered into 30 pieces. And but at a time like that, the instinct is to survive. How it affected my career, I've never thought much about that. For some reason, I was blessed. So I've always looked like that whatever time I've had is more than I would have had. And I've never thought about what life could have been like without it. I've just always appreciated being here and having the opportunity to play. I pitched the last game of the season for the A's against the Yankees, who had won the pennant that year, and we won the playoffs. The A's were playing the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, but I pitched against Bill White, who was a left-hand pitcher with the Yankees. I lost that game 5-2, I believe it was, and but it was a great experience, and the first pitch that I threw in that game, Lonnie Fry was a leadoff hitter, and the first pitch I threw went right over the top of his head and hit the backstop, and you could hear the guys on the Yankee bench moan, and later you think about it and you say, well, here we are, we cinched the pennant, we're going in the World Series, and they got some guy pitching out there that looks like he may kill us all before the game's over. But the first pitch went all the way to the backstop, but never hit the ground. It went way up in the screen. It was a great experience, and I never enjoyed losing, but I did enjoy the competition.